There's no arguing that people love their cars.
We weren't arguing.
They talk about their cars, sing about their cars. Some people even look like their car. Whether it's an old car, new old car, fast car, family car, electric car, race car, two-wheel car, no-wheel car, or a car you know's parked around here somewhere. People who love their cars love to tinker with them. Some people tinker big, some people tinker small, some people tinker some degree between those two variables.
Whose voice is that?
And that's where Supercheap Auto comes in. We've been helping people tinker for 50 years. For people like Bill, Lucy, Kevin, other Kevin.
Oi, get off my car!
Didn't catch this guy's name.
It's Kevin.
Not Patrick. He doesn't shop with us. Whoever you are, whatever you drive, we'll help you make it super. Because super is our middle name. Well, technically it's our first.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 11 of season 10 of Supercheap Auto East Coast V8 series, coming to you from the Circuit de Jerez, running the moto layout tonight, which should be a very interesting layout for these circuits. I'm John Van Ree. With me, I've got Mark Duggan. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, very good, John. Good to be here. Pretty good track, this one, for the V8's. Quality field, so should be some good racing tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how a few of these boys go as they prep for the Pro Series tomorrow night. And very intrigued to see also a few of the other battles. Might jump straight in to have a look at this track. Course located in central southern Spain. We start on the start-finish straight. We head up the hill to the Curva Expo 92, where we take the big left-hander over the crest and then roll down into turn 2 through Michelin, where we pull the car up and then we accelerate through turn 3. And then we also come up through turn 4, sweeping up into the Cedo Ponds corner, and then we head up to turn 6, otherwise known on the moto circuit as Curva Deni Pedrosa, but also known as Dry Sack on the racing circuit layout. We then head down through turn 7, and then sweeping through there into the Curva Jorge Martin Aspa, and then we head up through turn 9, where we then sweep around through turn 10, and then we go through turn 11, which is Curva Alex Crevilla. That's the change in the circuit there on the general Grand Prix circuit. You go into the centre chicane in that circuit, but we've got the fast-flowing Curva Alex Crevilla, and then we come through the fast-flowing turn 12 Ferrari, and then into the very slow and tricky pit entry location in turn 13, the Curva Jorge Lorenzo. It is a fun little flowing track. It is, as explained to me, a motorbike track. So it has very flat camber on corners. So these boys are definitely going to have to work pretty hard at it tonight, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you've had your Spanish lessons and got all the pronunciations out, John. Yeah, it is a flat surface. I never thought about why it was so flat, but that makes sense. But still, it's nice and wide. There's plenty of overtaking opportunities, and there's enough technical corners to test everybody's limits. So I think the boys have got their job cut out for them tonight. And like you said, it's a very tricky pit entry.
And let's have a quick look at the points leading into our second last round. Looking at the overall point score, James Scott quite comfortably in front with 2 drop rounds from Scott Gamble from 9.5 Sim Sports. Jacob O'Reilly from Vermeulen Motorsports having a cracker season. He's not too far behind Gamble. Troy Stone Street from WK&P sitting in 4th and also leading our Super 2 drivers, which is quite remarkable. But Troy not with us tonight, away on holidays. I'm sure he's watching us. And we'll get to talking about the Super 2 battle in a minute. Anthony Visma in 5th, Mulford in 6th from Phoenix Racing Team, Alan Dawson in 7th from Riot Sim Racing, Dave Coleman from Fishy Motorsports, John Fillingham from Veteran Gaming Australia, Steve Tonkin from JWM Sim Sport. So the top 10 guys back into that, showing consistency paying off as we roll through to our Pro Series drivers. James Scott from Lobs Esports is leading that from Scott Gamble and O'Reilly. Anthony Visma in 4th, Dawson in 5th, Hobson 6th, Zachary Vlasboim in 7th. Ty Delaney missed a few rounds, but he's still sitting in the top 10 in 8th ahead of Dylan Rudd from Lobs Esports, and Zach Rattray White rounds out the top 10 for Vermeulen Motorsport. A little bit tight there through the middle from 3 down to 6, so still plenty to play for these boys. And when we roll over to the Super 2 battle, Troy Stone Street just ahead of Tim Mulford. On calculating on points, if Mulford wins tonight, he will lead Stone Street by 1 point going into the final round. Dave Coleman sitting in 3rd, quite clearly and safe there from Steve Tonkin in 4th. John Fillingham knocking on the door in 5th from Veteran Gaming Australia. Reg James not with us as well tonight due to house moving commitments. In 7th is Matthew Shanahan from Veterans Gaming Australia. Greg Sharp from WK&P in 8th. Dean Favell in 9th from WK&P, and 10th was last week's race winner Aidan Kale from BE Electrical Race on Oz. And quickly look at the Vets boys, and that's Gamble from 9-5 Sim Sports ahead of Stone Street, who is then got John Fillingham from Veterans Gaming Australia. He's comfortably sitting there in 3rd with James missing, Sharp in 5th, Favell in 6th. Russell Gander in 7th, Sean McNamara in 8th, Brian Mamogue in 9th, and Jamie McKnight rounding out the top 10 for the Vets drivers. And that is the point score going into the second last race.
Just a quick note. I just looking through the list tonight. I don't see Dave Coleman, Troy Stone Street, or Tim Mulford. So top 3 in that championship is not in the server tonight, so I don't think much is going to change there, John.
No, very interesting. There is neither of those two. That's probably a bit of a relief for Stone Street. I know he was very nervous setting off on his holiday. Almost going to let the family go and stay at home. And Dave Coleman is crook. He's not feeling up to 57 laps. That's fair enough. Get well soon, mate.
Yeah, get well soon, Dave. Hope you get over it quickly.
Yeah, you know what I've got. I've been lingering around for too long. Anyway, we've still got a cracking race. O'Reilly's sending some good practice times from Ross. Rattray White, Scott, Rudd, Hobbs, Warboys back with us. Andrew Gilliam with us tonight. Registered for the season. Only race, this will be his first race. So all the big boys coming to play, being Pro Series tomorrow night. So I think we're going to see a cracking battle up the front of this pack.
Yeah, definitely, John. I think we're pretty used to seeing James Scott have his own way most weeks here in the East Coast, but he's certainly got some competition tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how this one rolls out. These boys would have all been spending plenty of hours in the hosted sessions that they've been putting up over the last 2 weeks in prep for tomorrow night. So these guys here will be using this to tweak their setup one final time before tomorrow. So this will be definitely all to play for some of these guys. It'll be interesting to see whether they come out and space themselves in qualifying or whether they try and bunch themselves up. I don't think the draft is too great around this circuit. There's no real benefit from crowding each other.
You know, these boys are like John, with a thousandth of a second up for grabs. They'll take it if they can.
That's correct. And of course, Dave Baldock in the chat missing Reg James. Yeah, Reg, a big exclusion tonight. Just think with the top 3 in split Super 2s not racing, would have been a great opportunity for Reg to capitalise some serious points. Which there are other Super 2 boys out there. Aidan Kale will be one, I think, to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Aidan had a great race last week, and yeah, he's certainly doing well and finding more and more pace each week, and yeah, his drive was exceptional last week. So look forward to seeing him and his teammate, who had a pretty good battle last week, do battle again tonight.
As these boys start to roll out in They will get going soon. Dylan Rudd, the first one to get on track as we pick him up. But what we might do is we might take this first lap, sit a little bit further back try and find somebody in the middle. We might try and get what it looks like from the cockpit view. These guys going into this first lap of quali. Maybe jump on with Damien Johnstone and we'll sit here just for a minute. The adjustments you've got to make on the throttle. Try not to run up to the back of his teammate here. So, War Boys not qualifying by the looks. He's commenting in the chat something about going for some food.
That's the problem with these young blokes, John.
Yep. Lack of commitment.
Always thinking about nutrition and all that other stuff is unnecessary.
Let's have a look. Teo Serrano's first one to start getting a lap in. As we start coming across the line. So fairly well bunched up. Rudd sets a purple sector for sector 1. Keep an eye on Dylan. We know that these guys can be super quick. James Scott already knocking that sector off. Rudd sets the purple sector. Purple sectors everywhere. O'Reilly goes purple in the second sector. Definitely Dylan Rudd fairly quick here. But I don't think he's as quick as the boys behind him, but we'll see as he comes into the final corner. What can Dylan Rudd here do to start the trend? First one to roll over the line. A Rudd with a 144.8, quicker than Baldwin. Jacob O'Reilly goes to the top. James Scott, P2. Seeing some movement up the top here. Hobson in the P4. Scott Gamble, P4. Jordan Ross, P3. Ross the boss. Setting a good time there. Keep an eye on Andrew Gilliam. He'd probably be the man to watch. Plenty of Emil and Motorsports cars on track this evening, so huge fan base out there already watching and supporting along. Shout out to Pato. Most of these boys, looks like Gilliam didn't get a time on that first lap, so most of these boys now running their way back around.
Yeah, it's a pretty treacherous place for off track. So yeah, if you get that off track, your lap is deleted, and you've got to get back to the pits and start again. But just looking at the time, John, there's only about half a second between first and 10th, so there's not a lot in it at all at the moment.
Definitely very close. Keep a bit of an eye on these boys now start crashing into the pit lane. Hey Serrano coming in as well. Mad rush again as they all exit out of pit lane. Do this all over again. Get to do this 3 times usually in this sector.
Just approaching the halfway mark of this qualifying session, and currently we have Jacob O'Reilly, James Scott, Jordan Ross, Rick Kuznetsov, Dylan Rudd, Scott Gamble, Brenton Hobson, Tom Freer, Zach Rattray White and Brady Baldwin rounds out your top 10.
Let's jump on board here with our Super 2 driver John Fillingham. He is setting a lap. Comes up round through Crevier past Centre Chicane and heads into Ferrari. And you can see how the MotoGP layout just creates a much greater flowing circuit as Fillingham bails into the pit lane. Jump back on with O'Reilly. Definitely very crowded here. Scott's managed to find himself a good gap. Let's see what James Scott can do here. It's on the gas nice and early, heading up into turn 1. And James bails out of that one.
Now, you may have got an off track on that lap.
Let's jump on board with Gilliam.
So this will put James out of sequence with everybody else. He's got 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes to get another hot lap done.
Yeah, definitely plenty of work to be done here. James Scott, normally seen P1, Jacob O'Reilly, the man on the mission. He's coming out to do another lap as well. So a few of them coming back out, a few of them on their way back in. Top 10 looking fairly settled. Aidan Cale leading our Super 2s at the moment.
Yeah, Jacob O'Reilly, he was quickest in practice before qualifying as well. With a 140.257 in practice, and then just bettered that with his quali lap with a 142.230. So clearly Jacob has got a nice rhythm around this circuit.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Good to see. Interesting to see as we head down pit lane here. He's doing a little bit of homework. Should solve that. As James Scott heads back out again. O'Reilly heading back out again. He's just gone through dry sack. And find somebody. John Fillingham on a bit of a lap at the moment. He's going to finally get his time set on the board. So Fillingham gets his time just ahead of Matthew Scholes. The Little Fish Ty Delaney sitting in 12th at the moment. That is an awesome effort there from the minnow. It's James into the back half of the circuit, waiting for him to carry his way through. All of them are going to get one more shot at this. And it's time now to make it matter. So at the moment, Brody Sentence is on track, still trying to set a time. Tyson Broad, War Boys have not set a time as well. Very interesting point to see.
It looks like Tyson Broad has actually left the service, so he may not end up on track tonight.
The old internet gremlins. As Iman Mesamo, he's in the cluster here of cars. Great to have Mez out on track. Hey, Scott Rankin tonight. I'm sure Simon will chalk this one up as a win between them two. Scott Rankin and Simon featuring in the iRacing top 10 in the last week. Commentating on the vets. All these guys, most of them out doing their slow lap at the moment, getting themselves squared away. Should start seeing them turn the wick up a bit here now and get running. We jump on with James Scott through turn 4. And James comes across the line. That push him up in front. No, he doesn't improve. Does not improve his time. Jacob O'Reilly will hold the pole position at this stage unless someone from behind can knock him off. Keep an eye on Gilliam as he crosses the line. 2 yellows, a green and a purple. Doesn't improve him up to 7th. And then the next man to keep an eye on, Scott Gamble. He comes through Ferrari. And he bails into the pit lane. He's out. He's done. Put a fork in it. Tom Freer will sit in 10th. Zach Rattray White. See what he can do. He bails as well. Mahoney. Race on Oz. Looks like he's cruising around after setting his time, maybe. So I think we have our grid set for the start of this race.
Yep, run and done, I think. Yeah, congratulations to Jacob O'Reilly on a great lap of a 1 minute 40.230.
Yeah, he's done very well. That'll put the cat amongst the pigeons going into turn 1. Of course, James Scott will be keen to try and get the jump off the line. Interesting to see how he goes about it. As quickly try and bring the grid up on the screen. And Jacob O'Reilly from Vermeulen Motorsport sits in P1 from James Scott, sharing the front row with him from Lobs Esports. Then we move on to Jordan Ross from Synergy Sim Racing. Great result for Jordan in P3. He lines up alongside Vermeulen's Rick Kuznetsov. In the third row, we have Brenton Hobson from Synergy Sim Racing in 5th, alongside Lobs Esports' Dylan Rudd. On the 4th row, we see Andrew Gilliam from Vermeulen Motorsports lined up alongside Scott Gamble from 95 Sim Sports. Zach Rattray White lines up on the 5th row for Vermeulen alongside Tom Freya from Synergy Sim Racing. In 11th is Adam Briggs on the 6th row from Synergy Sim Racing. He lines up alongside the lead Fishy Motorsports car, the Minnow, Ty Delaney. Great result for the young fella there. And on the next row is Robert Gibbs, the Race 1 winner of the Pro Series this season from Evolution Racing Team. In 14th is Brady Baldwin from Synergy Sim Racing. Joe Mahoney from BE Electrical. Race on Oz is in 15th alongside Teo Serrano from Vermeulen Motorsports in 16th. Accelerate Sim Racing's Anthony Visma is 17th alongside 95 Sim Sports' Sean McNamara. In 19th, we have our first of our Super 2 drivers, Aidan Cale from BE Electrical. Race on Oz, lining up alongside Damien Johnstone from Synergy Sim Racing in 20th. 21st is Greg Sharp from WK&P alongside Alan Dawson from Riot Sim Racing. Martin Lofthouse from JWM Esports lines up alongside his teammate on the 12th row in Stephen Tonkin from JWM as well. And then over the page, we have Simon Mesamo from 95 Sim Sports in 25th, lining up alongside Veteran Gaming Australia, John Fillingham. Matthew Shanahan from Veteran Gaming Australia, his teammate in 27th, lines up alongside Tyson Broad, who we believe is on the grid, so he has turned up. Didn't set a time. And then Blake Warboys from WK&P Sim Sports didn't set a time alongside with Track School's Brody Sentence. Mac McMillan is our race control safety car driver. Richard Barella is our chief race control. And Dave Worrell is our DSO for the evening. We are in for a good one, I think, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, congratulations, Jacob O'Reilly. I think it's probably the first race this season where James Scott hasn't taken pole, other than the 2 races where he didn't turn up. So, yeah, real turn up for the books there, but it's going to make an exciting opening stanza, especially into turns 1, 2, 3 and 4.
That's right. And of course, these boys doing 57 laps this evening, 2 compulsory pit stops, identical format to the Pro Series tomorrow night. So very interesting to see a lot of these guys up front. Of course, our top 18 drivers are all pro drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how these lads use this as a sounding board for racing tomorrow night. Right, we're not too far away now. Lights are about to go on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights are out. We are racing. Looks like a good jump from O'Reilly. Scott's going to get boxed on the outside, I think. 2x2 still going into turn 1. O'Reilly gets ahead of Scott. Scott having to fold in behind. Kuznetsov sneaks himself up a spot in front of Jordan Ross. Brenton Hobson sneaks himself up as well. Still a bit of movement towards the back where they're all still 2x2. But it is definitely going for Jacob O'Reilly here. He has got the jump on James Scott. Jordan Ross still under all sorts of pressure. Robert Gibbs involved in an incident. Scott Gamble's off at the back there. We'll come back to that in a second. Not sure what's going on with Gamble, but he is losing lots of spots.
Gamble's gone all the way to the rear of the field. I think that was contact with Robbie Gibbs.
Yeah, we might just quickly try and go to the Supercheap Auto replay. I know these guys are duking it out at the front. Let's have a look. A little bit of contact, a little bit of net code in there as well. Both bounce off side by side. Leave that one for race control to look at. Thank you, Mr. Baldock.
Great jump there from Jacob O'Reilly, no nerves. He launched it nice and cleanly and held his nerve and got a good line into turn 1 and has been able to hold on for the entirety of the lap so far. He's got James Scott behind him, followed by Jordan Ross. And I think we've got Rick Kuznetsov behind Jordan. They start to bunch up into this hairpin onto the main straight.
And definitely still a great little battle here. The lead 4 have gotten themselves out away. And then the next 3, Kuznetsov, Hobson, Gilliam bunching up. That includes Rudd, Rattray, White, Freer, Briggs, Baldwin. You can throw a blanket over all these guys. This is a great start to this race.
That was such a shame for Scotty Gamble. He's had an absolutely outstanding season. I think he's sitting in P2 in the championship or P3 in the championship, and that's really going to hurt his standing tonight if he can't make the ground he needs to.
Yeah, still sitting back in 25th is Gamble, down 17 spots. And of course, the man on the move, Steve Tonkin, up 7. Warboys is up 10 already in the 19th. So some big movers down the back from all of the kerfuffle. But Dylan Rudd here, nicely tucking in, getting settled. Don't forget, we are running on a warmish track this evening. The track temperature is 51 degrees on circuit. Only 27 degrees there temperature. But these boys definitely having to work hard. Look after the tyres, look after the car. 2 compulsory pit stops, 57 laps. That is a long way to go if you don't look after it.
Yeah, absolutely. You put your paella on this track tonight.
Doing a lap split, doing a split system of laps. If you're looking around lap 19, your first pit stop. So these boys still got to go 17 laps from here.
With this, sorry, John, with this track temp length of track, I think the undercut will be quite severe tonight if you decide to pit early. So, depending if you can come out in clean air, I think the undercut will work on that first pit stop.
And James Scott now starting to make his move on O'Reilly. It's at the fastest lap last lap. He's 0.2 faster. Jordan Ross 4 tenths back, 3 tenths back, sorry, 4 tenths back from these guys. So definitely some battling going on.
Yeah, I did see Kuznetsov get past Jordan Ross on the previous lap, and then Jordan was able to get back past him again. So that's why they've lost a little bit of ground on the 2 in front. A little bit of contact into the hairpin there, just gets Jordan a little bit squiggly, but he hangs on.
Kuznetsov here doing all the work. Joe Ross a bit loose again there.
Yeah, Jordan missed the apex there. He's got a slow exit. This is going to open up the door for Kuznetsov, and he didn't need a second invitation. Takes that position nicely.
And falls back into the clutches of Hobson and Gilliam and Rudd. Ross here has a lot of work to do. Netsov already starts to put half a car width in front. James Scott getting racy up front now, looking to make a move on O'Reilly. Shows the nose, tucks back in behind.
Hobson and Gilliam battling hard. Gilliam just loses a couple of spots there.
Drops him back into the clutches of the rest of the pack there with his teammate Retro White behind him. You've got to be very careful here. You've got to make the move stick.
Scott with a good run down this back straight. Is he going to try and make the move into the hairpin?
Yep, here he comes. Up the inside. Pulls it up. Makes it look really good. Scott now, let's see if he can walk away with it. Tom Frere loses a spot, the Retro White. Still a fair bit of side-by-side racing from a few of these boys. As Freo gets through on White. Hobson under a lot of pressure from Dylan Rudd now.
Getting a lot of passes being made, and then the driver that gets past comes straight back on the next corner, which makes it pretty exciting for us. We've got Dylan Rudd and one of the Synergy boys side by side by the look of it.
Yeah, Hobbo getting shuffled back, and Gilliam trying to come round the outside in this battle as well. Definitely all happening in the Hobbo. Gilliam on the inside going into turn one, should have corner rights.
Yeah, Brenton really didn't get a good drive out of that corner, and again he pushed a little bit wide and gives Freya a little bit of contact there.
Oh, you don't want to go wide there. It opens the door up. Wasn't just Freya. It was Retro White coming through as well. Hobson shuffled right back.
I think he's lost 4 spots in half a dozen corners there, which will be really frustrating for Brenton. But as we know, he's the master strategist, and probably see him pull out something different to the others.
Let's jump on here with Briggsy, former series champion. Up behind Hobson. These two very classy drivers, both been series champions of the league. Having crack up in battle, it's going to drop a bit further down the back. Steve Tonkin in a good little battle here with Greg Sharp. Some of our Super 2 drivers. Hayden Cale leading the Super 2 class at the moment. He's sitting up in 19th. Hayden, of course, new to the series. It's the first few rounds and has just gotten stronger and stronger every week. And Blake Warboys, he's up 14 spots. And definitely looking very well. Got himself past McNamara on a hunt down Anthony Bismer up front. And Gilliam now coming under pressure from Tom Frere, going back towards that front battling pack. Let's see, can Frere make a move heading up into dry sack? He gets a good run off the corner. We get that little bit closer. Does he show the nose? No, he doesn't. As they heavily brake back to second gear to get through dry sack, heading out of the corner now. Gets good drive out of it. These guys definitely driving very well this evening. They might just jump on with Freya. Have a look at the view out the window. Sweeps through Ferrari. Down into the Jorge Lenzo corner. Bow down nicely. Third into fourth. Fifth. It's nice and wide out on the ripple strip heading into the Expo. And down the hill into Michelin. See if Tom can get a good drive out of Cedo Ponds again. Careful not to overdrive the car. Very hard on tyres this place with these sweeping corners. Accelerate now. Up to dry sack. Not close enough to get the move done. Oh, he goes deep. That's going to hurt. That'll open up the gap again. Almost falls into the clutches. The retro white behind. But he doesn't.
Yeah, that was very close to a looming disaster there from Tom, but he managed to get the steering away from the car in front and saved contact. So well done to Tom for pulling that one up.
And Blake Warboys manages to poke his nose past Anthony Visma, and now has Damien Johnstone and Brady Baldwin in his sights. So plenty of battling back here with these guys. Alan Dawson doing very well as well. Our reigning Super 2 champion. And go back up the front. Ross the Boss still under a lot of pressure from Dylan Rudd. This is the battle for fourth. So at the moment our race leader is James Scott, 1.5 seconds out from Jacob O'Reilly, who's 1.1 seconds ahead of Rick Kuznetsov, who is just 0.9 of a second ahead of this battle that I got on screen here. All still very close, all still very tight. Lap 8 of 57.
Yeah, we're just starting to see James Scott stretch his legs a little bit out in front now. Just wondering whether Jacob maybe used too much of his tyres early on defending from James, and James has managed to open that gap up to just over a second now. So almost back to business as usual.
Yeah, definitely looking like it. It's going to go back Warboys. He looks like he's going to get a move here on Johnstone shortly. A good look at the working suspension of that Synergy Sim Racing entry. Impressive. They call it a simulator. You can actually see the springs working.
I just don't think the V8's have the same change of direction that a MotoGP bike has around the circuit.
Nah, far from it. As Warboys looks up the inside. Through Lorenzo. Pulls up alongside to be on the outside as they come through Expo. So on the outside for the next corner. Look, switches back to the inside. Clean side-by-side racing. This is what we like at East Coast.
Yeah, well executed pass there from Blake. Set that up beautifully and showed his skills and racecraft there to get past Damien Johnson without creating any paint. He's now got Teo Serrano just in front of him, and I think the way Blake's going, I'm expecting him to make pretty sure work of this next move as well.
Up the inside in the dry sack, and he definitely gets the job done.
Johnson trying to get through as well.
quite enough room. Interestingly, though, just a little bit further back and making ground is Scott Gamble. He's not far behind this battle pack now, so just keep an eye on him over the next couple of laps. See if he can get into that group. Going to go back. Jordan Ross still under pressure from from Rudd. Rudd all over the back of this Energy Sim Racing entry. Going to get a move done shortly. He doesn't want to let Kuznetsov get too far ahead of him. Wants to get his foot on that podium. Quite enough to have a look up the inside, but he is there or thereabouts.
Yeah, Jordan very late on the brakes there to make sure that Dylan couldn't sneak up the inside there.
Starting to cost time to the battle in front. Oh!
Just looking at the cars, it just looks like Dylan's able to put the car wherever he wants, and nice and stable, very balanced. Jordan just missing a few apexes here and there, so I feel like Dylan probably got the better race car under him at the moment.
They're definitely a lot quicker mid-corner speed. Gordon here definitely working very hard to keep in front of the Lobby Sport Speed Cafe entry. And he goes to dive. Does he get the job done through Michelin? And yes, he does.
I think in the end Jordan knew that Dylan was probably a little bit quicker than him and didn't fight too hard. He tried to defend minimally, and Dylan just has eventually got through and will now make his way towards Rick Kuznetsov.
And Scott Gamble has pitted, carrying damage from that lap 1 incident.
Yeah, I think he saw that big gaggle of cars just in front of him probably, and figured that the best way to try and jump them boys is to get in early, get an undercut and try and get some clean air. I think he was coming up on about 6 or 7 cars that were very tightly bunched, and he would have lost a whole heap of time trying to fight his way through that pack.
Definitely a big gaggle here still. Just having a look at Sean McNamara, up 3 spots. Good little battle with Brady Baldwin. Anthony Visma trying to hang on to the back of this group. Andrew Gilliam heads down the lane. Don't forget too, very tricky pit entrance is this place.
You know, that puts Gamble a lap down on the leaders, so hopefully he gets in some clean air and he's not going to be haunted by blue flags here.
And Aidan Cale and Joe Mahoney changing positions. Just jump on with Gamble. He's come out between 9th and 10th. Got plenty of clear air behind the War Boys. And a fair bit of clear air in front of Briggs. So he should be okay, I think, Mark.
Yeah, I think as long as them fresh tyres aren't too powerful for the cars in front. We know Briggs, they're quality driving, they've got plenty of pace, so fingers crossed Scotty can just get on with his race and make a bit of a recovery after that incident with Robbie Gibbs on lap 1.
We've got Simon Mesamo driving the coupe version, so not sure what happened to Mez. I think I might have missed that one. Might be this one here from lap 2. Just have a quick look at the replay. Oh, a bit of a crunch there. Yeah, involved in an incident with Martin Lofthouse. Go back to live.
I'm just noticing, it looked like, we got car 15, so that's Aidan Carl with the drive-through penalty.
Oh, it's probably associated with that incident. A few in the pits now as well with Carl Mahoney. And definitely still battling with Mez. Tom Frere now under pressure. Rattray White. Frere looking comfortable here. Definitely still plenty to be battling for. Adam Briggs, as was just seen, O'Reilly and Kuznetsov going to the pit. So the Vermeulen boys racing an interesting strategy. Lap 13's quite early, I think. If it was me, I'd be thinking a little bit later than that. Gordon Ross goes through. As we said before in our calculations, lap 19 would probably have been the strategy if you were doing an equal split. Leo Serrano in as well, so it's obviously a team strategy. It's Greg Sharp battling with Steve Tonkin. This is the battle for 19th, 18th and 19th.
Yeah, we kind of felt with the amount of cars that Vermeulen have in the race tonight, they might have split their strategies a bit just to see what may work for them tomorrow night. So interesting that they've all decided to come in on the same lap, basically.
Definitely interesting, as Rattray White and Frere still going toe to toe. Tom Frere, as we know, very good at looking after the tyres, very good at making the car go long. Big hop, skip and jump off the curb there from Rattray White. Frere coming up behind again. Closes greatly into the Jorge Lenzo corner. Yeah, hard and heavy on the brakes there. He continues onwards. Rattray White pulling away a bit. Brady Baldwin, the first of the Synergy guys to peel off into the pit lane. So our leading pit stop car at the moment, Andrew Gilliam, sitting in 13th. Need to keep an eye on that. He's still 5 seconds up the road as Alan Dawson, 4 seconds to Visma. So some very big gaps in this grouping as well. As Mark talked about earlier, you've got to be very careful where you come out and who you wind up battling with when you go in for the undercut. It's Damien Johnstone now under pressure from Sean McNamara. Macca been around quite a few years. You haven't had a chance to listen to the You Can't Park There podcast series. Macca, one of the guests, comes on and has a good 2-hour chat, quite well known up in the Ipswich area for his go-karting prowess and go-karting coaching. He's driven with quite a few famous names up there at Ipswich. And also the Supremo of 9.5 Sim Sport. As Ross the Boss is in pit lane now. We're starting to see these strategies play off. Where's Gilliam? Gilliam caught up in a little bit of traffic here. Gamble. Gamble, of course, lap traffic. What we were worried about. Good contact there. Gilliam gets on his way though. Johnstone now under a lot of pressure. McNamara. And Macca gets himself through. Go up to Hobbo. Hobbo has Adam Briggs definitely keeping the pressure on him. Lap 16 of 57. Starting to see a few of these guys come in for that first stop. As you can see, very tricky technical pit entry. Hobson heads down the lane. He's the next driver out of our top 6 to pit. Breeze up, Riggs hunt down his teammate in front of him. Tom Freer. A Rattray White sitting in third.
I'm just going through my list there, John. I noticed Scott Gamble was given a drive-through penalty as well for that lap 1 incident. So Gamble has actually toured the lane twice already, one for a pit lane penalty and one for a compulsory pit stop.
That would explain the going-ons.
That's definitely compromised his race tonight, and not sure the implications it might have on his championship standings after the end of the night as well.
And Rick Kuznetsov, he's one of the stoppers there. He's tucked up behind O'Reilly. Jacob O'Reilly continues on. So Andrew Gilliam's the leader of our stopped cars at the moment. And he has Jacob O'Reilly, Ricky Kuznetsov, his teammates tucked behind. Warboy's in the pit, so Shanahan. Warboy's rolling out now. He's going to come out in 15th. Tucked up right behind John Fillingham. Gets past him straight away. And continues on. Jacob O'Reilly still with Kuznetsov. And the only other battle, of course, Damien Johnstone. He is tucked up behind Brodie Sentence.
Just look at quickest lap times. James Scott is currently got hold the quickest lap with a 1:4.1207. Second quickest is man in P6, which is Andrew Gilliam with a 1:4.1266. So Andrew's clearly got plenty of pace in the car. Just maybe he just needs a little bit more track familiarisation to consolidate his pace.
He's driving very well. It's just going to go Warboys hunting down Teo Serrano now.
Another great drive from Blake. He's only raced a few times with us this season. He's got plenty of other commitments on his plate, but yeah, he's up 16 spots after 19 laps, so it's almost a car a lap. So he's doing extremely well out there.
Yeah,
And he has made a pit stop, so he hasn't made all them places by jumping people who haven't stopped.
yeah, driving very well and gets past Serrano. As James Scott and Dylan Rudd both head down the pit lane. Rudd nicely gets it through. Rattray White comes in as well. What does Freya do? Freya keeps going. There's still a few battles. Fillingham coming in the pit lane now. Dylan Rudd and Rattray White still battling away pretty hard here.
James Scott has just left the lane and he's come out right behind Jordan Ross, which will be a little bit frustrating for James, but he might get a good run here on the back straight and be able to swoop straight past.
They're definitely making some good ground up. James Scott, he has come back out a little bit further down than what we thought. O'Reilly, Kuznetsov and Gilliam have gotten the jump on him. So let's have a quick look at the pit times, get a bit of an idea of who's taken on a lot of fuel. James Scott stationary for 12 seconds longer than what Andrew Gilliam was, and a good seconds on Kuznetsov. Sort of balances out where we sit time-wise.
It's a fairly long stop from James. Damien Johnson looks like, I know, Anthony Visma was the longest stopper with 25.9 seconds. But James, yeah, it's a fairly lengthy stop compared to his competitors around him.
A very long stop, indeed. It will mean when he does his next stop, it won't take very long. Load her up. Might just jump back, have a look at how Brodie Sentence is getting on. Having a good view of the battle in front of him between Joe Mahoney and Anthony Visma. Side by side out in front. As Mahoney manages to come out on top in this battle, goes wide. Visma sticks it up the inside. And Sentence now has a look up into this battle as well.
I'm sure Brodie Sentence's eyes lit up there, thinking he was going to get the move done, but that door quickly closed. He tries to drive up the inside now.
Oh,
Pass keeps it under control, but he's going to be on the outside for the next corner.
side by side, a little bit of close banging here. Sentence having the tuck back in behind Mahoney. As James Scott set the fastest lap, last lap round with a 1:40.97. Now finds himself tucked up behind Jacob O'Reilly. And Scott goes too wide, has tucked back in behind.
Jacob not defending too hard there, giving James plenty of room. Clearly thought James was going to get the move done at some point and allows James to get through. So now James sets off after Rick Kuznetsov.
And Freer comes into the lane. That'll mean Andrew Gilliam will be our new race leader. New race leader on the circuit, Jacob O'Reilly, our pole sitter. He's sitting in 4th place at the moment. James Scott up in front. Jordan Ross, the next man back behind him. Scott Gamble, the lapped car in between. Let's have a quick look at John Fillingham. He is tucked up behind Martin Lofthouse. Good little battle here between these two. Another one of the big improvers this season, John Fillingham.
Well, John definitely getting quicker and quicker with each outing, and great to see him here every week, learning the craft of the V8. Not an easy car to drive. See him get a little bit sideways on the exit there, but he's got the move done on Lofthouse. So great work there from John.
Yeah, driving very well. And James Scott now has got himself on the back of Kuznetsov.
Certainly didn't take long for James to make the ground up on these guys.
Definitely taken the battle to them. Bearing in mind as well, he's 4 seconds more fuel than Kuznetsov in front of him. As long as he can keep within that range, I think he'd be quite happy going into that final stop.
Well, they came out of the pits and he was almost exactly that 4 seconds behind, and he's made that ground up very, very quickly and looking like he's going to get a run down into the hairpin here.
Gets the job done. Next man up the road now for James Scott is Andrew Gilliam. So, of course, he is absolutely flying along. Of course, only lap 24, not even halfway yet. So still a long way to go here.
Yeah, still plenty of racing to be done, and the track's still sitting at 52 degrees, so definitely not easy conditions out there for the boys.
Yes, definitely leading into a Spanish summer. Gilliam just getting past Greg Sharp. He's working his way through some lap traffic at the moment. James Scott not too far behind as well. You can see the distance back there now. Gives you a bit of visualisation. As these boys starting to spread out a little bit. Jump on, we haven't had a look at Brady Baldwin for a little while. Quite more known, well known for his dirt track antics. But here he is in the V8, sitting in 13th. Just a second behind Sean McNamara, managing to stay in front of his teammate Damien Johnstone in 14th.
Yeah, compared to the field just prior to all them pit stops, it's the field is spread right out now over the whole distance of the track, basically.
Definitely have opened up some gaps on each other. Let's have a quick look at that pit strategy again. When did guys come in? Gilliam pitted on lap 11, so he's already 13 laps into this stint. James Scott went to lap 19. So big difference in tyre wear. So I'd be expecting Scott to start to catch Gilliam fairly quickly here in the next lap or two. He's already gotten a second out of him. Definitely a fair way to go. And interesting to see when some of these guys that went in for that early pit stop on lap 11 and 12, when they come in for their next stop. So I'd probably say the ones in the box seat at the moment, Rudd, Retro White and Scott. Tom Free pushing it out to 22 laps. And of course James Scott having to deal with a little bit of traffic as well now.
Yeah, he's got past Greg Sharp pretty easily there. Greg gave him plenty of space. So now the only car in front of him is Andrew Gilliam.
Gonna have a quick look what happened to Steve Tonkin. He's in a little bit of a battle. This going into the final corner. Gets on the gas a little bit too early and just clips the wall. Manages to get it going, Nate. So 2 seconds now, the gap to Gilliam. I think it's only a matter of time before Scott gets up there. And just keeping an eye, Warboys, our hardest charger, he's up into the top 10. He's up 19 spots. Trying to make his way to Adam Briggs, 8 seconds up the road in front of him. So, of course, Warboys pitted on lap 17. Briggs pitted on lap 17 as well. So, big difference between those two.
Yeah, James God taking time out of Andrew Gilliam again on that lap. He was about 3.5 tenths of a second quicker and just slowly but surely working his way up to the back of Andrew Gilliam.
He's making his way there. Gilliam definitely keeping an eye on that. You can see that gap visibly closing.
Teammates Brady Baldwin and Damien Johnson, they're probably the closest two cars on the track, so they're quite close together heading into the hairpin here. So we know there's no team orders at Synergy Sim Racing, and that's, I think, with most teams there's no team orders.
And down pit lane is Gilliam, so that's an early stop.
Well, it is a very early stop. He's still got almost half the race to go.
That'll be very interesting. Long way home for him from there. As Damien Johnstone, Brady Baldwin still in close proximity. Brenton Hobson now has Dylan Rudd starting to make some moves up behind him. Lap traffic here will make this battle a little bit more interesting. Might give some more opportunities here for Rudd to make a move.
Yeah, Hobson's still got probably 3 or 4 car lengths on Rudd, but that can change very quickly with the slower car getting involved. With Sharp, Greg Sharp does a great job to let everybody through and get on with their racing.
Very smart move.
Of course, Greg just coming back after a bit of time off, after breaking a toe, I believe, in some weights in a gym session. So good to have him back, and hopefully he's back to race fitness very soon.
Definitely good having him back. There's Dylan Rudd slowly catching, but still this Baldwin Johnstone battle. We've been an outstanding little one on the circuit. Check on our mate Hobbo, sentence heading into the pit lane. These guys heading up into dry sack. I've been asked the question because all the other corners are pretty well much named after MotoGP, Spanish MotoGP riders. Dry sack, for those wanting to know what it's all about, it is basically has to do with this being part of the wine region. And dry sack is a special sherry product by an Anglo-Spanish company in Jerez. So it's named after a sherry, immortalising it's as a part of the Andalusian culture. There's my fun fact for the night. As Tom Freer is off the circuit. It's Tom done here. On the brakes. He's missed the apex altogether. Wondering whether he blew an engine or something. No, it's still going. Nice flick spin into the tyres. And going again.
A definitely interesting name, Drysack, with PG, so I'll leave it at John's description there.
It's apparently very, very famous area, Jerez de la Frontera. Is the sherry brand or sherry variety that's quite well known and very popular with the English nobility back in the day. I'll leave it at that. And Tom Freer off again. Let's have a quick look at Tom Freer. What's happened there? The car's a little bit loose coming into pit lane. This is what we talk about, his pit lane being difficult. He has just overshot that tight corner.
Definitely a pit lane because it draws you in to approach it with speed, but then the corner closes in on you very, very quickly, and it's almost a right-hand corner and right-hand angle into the or left-hand corner into the pit lane. Yeah, and it just comes at you at a million miles an hour, and seen many a car end up with a pit lane penalty due to an unsafe pit entry.
Or the other one that you tend to see, or we saw when Vets was here, they spear across, don't get the corner done, spear across back out into the circuit. As we jump on with Andrew Gilliam, 22nd stop. Very, very early, back on lap 27. He's tucked up behind Warboys at the moment. And gets that move done fairly quickly.
Yeah, pretty surprised to see the second stop coming this early in the race, but I guess if it was a good test hit out for what they're up for, what they're up against tomorrow night, and that's probably what they're doing, just to see how far they can go on a set of tyres.
There's plenty of Vermeulen entries in the field tonight, so they can try a few different strategies they wanted to. Brady Baldwin comes down the lane now, 14th. And Brenton Hobson still under a lot of pressure from Dylan Rudd behind. Dylan would be looking to try and get this move done fairly quickly. Dylan, of course, tyres are 3 and 4 laps younger than the cars in front of him here. Riley's slowly falling back into Jordan Ross as well, so lap 31 at 57, and they're starting to come back together a little bit.
Yeah, the different pit strategies spread the field apart, but now we're starting to see everybody coming back together. So we've still got 26 laps to go, so still a lot of racing to be done, and I definitely wouldn't want to be Andrew Gilliam with those set of tyres he's going to have by the end of the race.
Yeah, they'll be slightly used. See Hobson under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, just probably compromising Dylan's race a little bit here. He's probably got more pace than a couple of these boys in front. He just can't quite show it at the moment. Hobson in front. He's just got Jordan Ross in front of him. So any toe is negated for Dylan with Hobson picking up a toe as well. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of work for Dylan to get this job done, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, 1-2 is when do these guys come in for that second round of stops? lap 38 would be split lap strategy. So if you are Dylan, do you try and undercut here?
Yeah, I think probably maybe another couple of 2 or 3 more laps, and then you might see some of these boys try to undercut each other, because that'll be down to about 22 laps to go, which would be more manageable than 28 laps on a set of tyres.
Definitely bunching up into this group here. See Kuznetsov's fallen back a bit to O'Reilly as well. So second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all on screen there. Turning into a great battle. And Rudd comes out, he has a look up the inside, gets Hobson.
Yeah, great move there from Dylan.
Definitely looking really good amongst this group. Hobson not falling away as much as I thought he would.
I think Brenton's pace is pretty reasonable, and we know he's a quality driver. And I think, you know, Dylan just kind of forced the issue there, and Brenton, being the wise old racer, didn't compromise either of their races and just gave him some space to get the job done. I think Brenton's wise enough that he knows he's got the pace to hang on to these boys, and he's just got to sit with them and maybe try and undercut them in the next pit stop, as we see Dylan Rudd get past Jordan Ross now.
Yeah, great little move into Michelin.
Just feel like, John, the Bermulan boys are just lacking a little bit of race pace late into their stints. Not sure if it's a tyre wear issue, but they seem to be quick out of the gate, but then in the middle and later part of their stint, they're just starting to lose some race pace. So might be something they need to look at for tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see as Hobson now gets past Ross, so Ross dropping off a little bit as well. But that's Simon O'Reilly pretty much back together now. And Rudd coming in very hot. Of course, Rudd pitting on lap 19, 2 boys in front pitting on lap 13, so laps difference in these tyres. Towards the end of the stint, so you definitely be starting to see the Milan boys drop off as they both peel off in together. Both get into the lane neatly. Rudd moves through now into P2. Brenton Hobson P3. And Retro White going with them as well, so definitely a team strap. Lap 35. Should start to see Gilliam move up the board a little bit as well here as the leader of our 2 stoppers. Hit it on lap 27, long way home.
Kuznetsov was stationary for 23.5 seconds that time, Retro White 19.8 and Jacob O'Reilly 21.3. So interesting enough, Andrew Gilliam was only stationary for 14.5 7 seconds. I'm not sure what his first stop was, but that's a pretty short stop for his second stop.
Yeah, definitely not quite add up to the calculation. Maybe he's trying a 3-stop strategy.
I was just thinking maybe they are going to run a 3-stop strategy to see where it lands them. Especially for Andrew, it's his first race with us tonight, so he's really got nothing to lose by rolling the arm and see where things pan out for the team.
As James Scott now is 11 seconds ahead of Dylan Rudd. The Lob Esports boys 1-2.
We'll return to our normal programming.
Yep. A few other little battles. Might just jump on with Brady Simpson. Is under pressure from Brady Baldwin. Bit of a battle here. Scott in front. Of course, just lapping these boys. Oh, bit of a tap. And pulls up, lets him play on. Good timing. That's Joe Mahoney in the pit lane. Jacob O'Reilly tucked up with Kuznetsov. Retro White looks like he's gaining on these two just a little bit. Baldwin going to try again now. And another bit of a contact between these two lads. That's a hard one into the barrier. And Baldwin jumps straight back to pit lane. So I think that's done for the night for Brady.
Well, that'll be a DQ, unfortunately, for Brady.
Yep. Hobson and Rudd still within a second of each other. And Ross not dropping too far back behind. These guys will be starting to plan that next stop in the next lap or two.
I think they definitely would have brought out a safety car if didn't escape back to the pits.
Yeah, that would have changed the aspect of the race.
Absolutely.
Giving Gilliam the roll of the dice for a free set of tyres. Plenty to go, and Hobson peels off. Starting to see the dice being rolled by our leaders now. Hobson trying to keep a fair eye on where Kuznetsov is. Briggs comes in as well. Kuznetsov tucked up behind Sean McNamara now. He's for position on track, even though McNamara's still got to stop again. War Boys moves up to 5th. He's in that same boat. Hobson still on the lane. Netsov. Like he's going to roll past Hobson. Hobson on the way out. O'Reilly's through. Retro White is through. Hobson tucks back into that group. Aidan Cale into the lane for our Super 2 drivers. Starting his final stop. Trey White now gets past McNamara. Macca getting out of the way. Realising not his battle. And 3 Bermulan cars all on a row. Let's jump up now. What does Dylan Rudd do? Doesn't respond. He keeps to the plan. Going deep. William. He's done this long second stint.
And still has a long way to go. Still 19 laps left to run, so yeah, he's going to be in a world of pain soon, I think.
Let's see how far it go. Sorry, mate.
I think I was just about to say, I think we'll see James Scott, Dylan Rudd hit the lane fairly soon.
Need to do so, I think, to react. I think. Just to cover those guys off. Well, boys, up 24 spots. Yes, start off the rear grid. And, of course, looking very well. Driven a reasonable race. There's Scott and Dylan Rudd still dealing with a bit of traffic. Light flashing. Of course, just checking on Martin Loftus. This has been passed by Scott Gamble. Gamble, after that lap 1 incident in the drive-through, has worked his way back up to 19th. That'll be very valuable points, I think, for the end of the season. Try and hang on to that second spot. As Rudd and Scott go through again.
Yeah, just looking at the lap times previous time around, Kuznetsov, O'Reilly, Rattray, White, all about a second quicker than James Scott. So James's tyres certainly seen better days, and I expect to see him coming pretty soon with 18 laps to go. Same with Dylan Rudd.
Yeah, I think they're about due. There's still a few battles in the mid-pack. But we're just waiting to see this one play itself out. Drew Gilliam in P4 as the leader of our 2 stoppers. Gilliam coming in on lap 27. Tyres will be a good 7 laps older than everybody else. Talking about that tyre deg drop off, you can see Simon Mesamo was hanging onto the back of James Scott there. Scott's in the lane.
Just looking. Sorry, John. I was just looking at Vermeulen versus Dylan Rudd as well, and they were about 2 seconds a lap quicker than Dylan. So, yeah, going to be interesting once these final stops roll out, just to see where everybody lands.
Gordon Ross decides to go another one, and Andrew Gilliam crosses the line. James Scott hasn't left his box yet. Four Boys is in. The Gilliam will take the lead. That's an interesting roll of the dice of the 2 stoppers, of course. So Scott comes out now. This will be a bit of a carrot for him to chase, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Just curious, John, do you have Gilliam's first pit stop time, or?
No, I don't. I think it was about... it was fairly short out of memory.
Yeah, because James was about 23 and a half. His second stop was 20. And I think Gilliam has done 2 around the 15-second mark. So, yeah, my maths isn't quite computing properly here. So maybe Gilliam is going to try a 3-stop strategy and just see how that plays out for them.
And McNamara must have got a pit lane penalty. 42nd pit lane stop and hold. It's all the way back into 14th now, so. Interesting things at play here at the moment. So James Scott is 15 seconds behind Gilliam.
Yeah, definitely McNamara looking like he did get that stop and hold because he was stationary for over a minute. So not Sean's best night of racing, that's for sure. So currently we've got Andrew Gilliam with a 14-second lead over James Scott, which is going to be intriguing to watch to see how quickly that time comes down.
Yeah, definitely coming down slowly at the moment. Give him a lap or two to get settled. Knowing James, he's probably done the arithmetic in his mind as well and is probably thinking Gilliam may need to stop again. These boys here starting to spread out a little bit. Dylan lads. So definitely starting to play out now. Most of these guys have all these guys have done their second stop. So the race is definitely into the final stage. Dylan Rudd, he's still caught up in the midst of the Mullen team, trying to put a fair bit of pressure on Rattray White here. Looking to try and work his way back up to the podium position he was before his second stop. James Scott's gotten that down to 12 seconds with the fastest lap time of 1:47.50. So Scott is on the charge.
He took, what did he take? He took almost 2 seconds off Andrew Gilliam on that lap alone.
Oh, he's Gilliam. So Andrew, of course, no traffic, no lap cars on that lap, so maybe those tyres are hitting the cliff. Which would be interesting.
I think one of the interesting battles that's about to unfold is probably Dylan Rudd on Jacob O'Reilly and Rick Kuznetsov. Dylan tyres a few laps younger, and Dylan looking like he is making ground pretty solidly over Jacob O'Reilly just in front of him.
So Gilliam coming in for another stop. We did predict this. It's be interesting to see how much time he loses here as he heads down the lane. James Scott coming through now. Back to the battle box. So Gilliam should hopefully see where this gets him. Falling down the leaderboard now, still not even rolling out.
with the third stop, he's still stationary for 19 seconds.
Yeah. Dylan Rudd now has O'Reilly in front.
Gilliam comes out with Jordan Ross just in front of him. Gilliam in P9, Ross in P8. I think with fresh tyres, Gilliam should be able to make fairly short work of Ross.
Yeah, already has.
Next in front of Gilliam will be Adam Briggs, so which is just over a second, so I expect that to close down fairly quick. Everybody knows who drives a V8 what fresh tyres are like.
Mm.
Well, you got a brand new car.
And here we go, the old switch approach, right up the inside, and he's got O'Reilly done fairly easily. Of course, O'Reilly pitting on lap 34, Rudd on lap 40. And Gilliam working his way back through, he's flying up behind Adam Briggs.
That gap was just over a second. He's closed it down in a couple of corners. So that just shows you what fresh tyres can do.
Of course, after Briggs, he's got Hobson 7 seconds up the road, though. That's a fair gap to chase the amount of laps that are left.
We've got just under 12 laps to go, or just over 12 laps to go, sorry. So still a bit of racing to go. Gilliam gets past Briggs.
Rudd now starting to set his sights on Kuznetsov.
Because Rick pitted the same lap as Jacob O'Reilly, I believe. So
Yep, 34, yep.
Yep, so their tyres are the same, with Dylan's tyres a fair bit younger.
Yeah, 6 laps making the world of difference. Might just go back, have a bit of a look at some of our other drivers. Great little battle here between Steve Tonkin and Alan Dawson. These two guys battling very closely. Tonkin, of course, our second place Super 2 driver this evening. A good little battle with these boys. Let's see if Alan can get the job done going into Lorenzo. And nicely passed. Greg Sharp's battling with John Fillingham, so there's still some battles around now. That pit stops have all rolled out. And Adam Briggs is the other battle. He is in a good little battle with his teammate Jordan Ross tucked up behind him. And Rick Kuznetsov is now half a second behind. Sorry, Dylan Rudd is now half a second behind Rick Kuznetsov. So battling away as we get into the closing stages of the penultimate round of the series.
So interestingly enough, Andrew Gilliam started in P7. He's gone with a 3-stop strategy and is currently in P7. So he definitely hasn't lost anything with that pit strategy. It'll be just interesting to see after another 11 laps whether he makes any more positions.
Has closed the gap on Hobson substantially. He's taken 2 seconds out of Hobson, so of course Hobson's only 2 seconds behind Rattray White, so it'll be interesting to see in 2 or 3 laps whether he can close that down. Kuznetsov here coming under a lot of pressure now from Dylan Rudd. A little bit of contact. Rick, definitely know Dylan's there now. And big defensive move from Rick. Goes to the inside of Drysack.
Definitely a long way from home to be defending this hard.
Just thinking that. Of course, Brinks is bringing O'Reilly and Retro White back to the battle. I think Rick would be hoping Jacob would be all over the back of Rudd. Keep his eyes full. Jordan Ross went in for another stop as well. It's telling me. He's just come back out. There's a lot of defending going on here.
Like you said, John, Jacob O'Reilly's almost on the back of Dylan Rudd again now.
So Rudd would be looking for a good drive out of Ertesito Pond's corner. Snetsov straight away up the middle of the road into Drysack. Rudd now has to go the long way round, can't get it done. A little bit of niggling contact there. But stuck up behind. Oh, he's on the grass. That opens the door up a little bit. Does O'Reilly hang on around the outside here? Oh, Rudd caught up in a massive Emil sandwich. Hobson latching onto the back of this now as well. And O'Reilly, he has bolted. And dives into the pits, Kuznetsov. So not sure what the story is there.
There was a little bit of contact with all them silly games they were playing with Brenton Hobson and Rick Kuznetsov. I don't think Hobbo did anything wrong, but so I feel like that was some uncalled for defending there, and I don't really think Rick meant to pit there. I think he was forced into the pits.
Oh, that hurts. So that changes the order up. James Scott is our race leader. He's 17 seconds up the road away from the shenanigans.
Actually, I think they might have hit their incident points, John, because Kuznetsov had a black flag, and I'm looking at Dylan Rudd has a black flag as well. So that could be all incident point related.
They were tapping away there for a little bit. So a couple of X's in there would have hurt very quick. As now O'Reilly goes wide. Not O'Reilly, sorry. Retro White goes wide, allows Rudd back in.
You know, Dylan's got a black flag, so he's going to have to do a drive-through here.
And Hobson now tucked up the back.
Hobbo will be saying, keep at it, boys, keep at it.
Of course, this has brought Gilliam to within 3 seconds of this group as well with those fresher tyres. And Rudd goes again.
I'm looking at Scott Gamble's got another black flag as well, so Scotty Gamble's night goes from bad to worse. That's his second black flag for the evening.
A tough night in the office for a few of these boys.
Absolutely, we're already out of the race. We've got Robert Gibb, Brady Baldwin, Tyson Broad, Brody Sentence, Teo Serrano, Matthew Shanahan, Tom Freer and Ty Delaney, and Damien Johnson, who's been in the pits for about 20 minutes.
Very tough night at the office for a lot of these guys. As you see Gilliam. Gilliam is sitting 2.7 behind. Remember, he pitted on lap 43, Hobson on 37, Rattray White on 34. As they're still having fun and games up the front here.
I'm not sure if a bit of frustration's creeping into the boys tonight, but we're seeing some racing we don't normally see. Not that we mind, we love good hard racing as long as it's not dirty. They're really throwing everything at it at the moment, and I think probably being so grip limited is contributing to a lot of this stuff that's going on at the moment. So Dylan Rudd still hasn't taken that black flag. I think if he doesn't take it this next lap around, he will be DC'd.
And Hobson sitting right behind Rattray White now, almost a cigarette paper between them. Hobson will be thinking we wouldn't know that Rudd's got that black flag, but if he can get this spot of Rattray White, that'll put it foot on the podium.
And then he's got Andrew Gilliam starting to really make ground on these boys, and I think this may be some of the team tactic is to try and get Gilliam back towards the podium.
Just keep an eye on this coming up into dry sack. Hobson stays tucked up behind. Snetsov still in the pit lane again. Hasn't moved. Rattray White is holding off Hobson here, still by 0.2 of a second. Gilliam 1.5 seconds behind. You can start to see him coming into shot. Dylan Rudd now is caught up to Jacob O'Reilly. Hobson now having a good hard look. And this will be Dylan Rudd's last lap to serve that black flag.
Yeah, and we're almost at the point now where Andrew Gilliam is going to be right on the back of Brenton Hobson, so then he'll have his teammate Rattray White just in front of that, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Andrew Gilliam go close to getting his foot on the podium by the end of the race.
Definitely all going to happen here in these last 5.5 laps. As James Scott nearly 20 seconds ahead of these guys. O'Reilly has Dylan Rudd right behind him. Dylan Rudd needs to pit, serve a black flag this lap. Through Ferrari and into Jorge Lorenzo. come around to start lap 53 for these boys. And there's a bit of chaos in the background there with Hobson.
Hobson and Rattray White, was it? That
Yep.
made contact.
Yep.
So that gives Andrew Gilliam a free pass.
Yep. Going to jump on board with Hobson.
And
Ian?
Dylan Rudd has got, I'm pretty sure Dylan Rudd has been DQ'd because he hasn't served that drive-through.
He will be. Hobson ends up slicing into the pit lane there as well. So a little bit unlucky for Hobbo. As Dylan Rudd leaves, I think. Yep, Dylan Rudd has left. So do we now roll out with James Scott 19.5 seconds up the road from Jacob O'Reilly, Andrew Gilliam in third, Zach Rattray White in fourth, Adam Briggs in fifth. And Blake Warboys in sixth, up 23 spots.
Yeah, super drive from Blake, just out there minding his own business, started from the rear of grid and yeah, has made 26 spots. Very, very good night's work from him. Yeah, very interesting, probably half a dozen laps there where lots of stuff unfolded and probably sets the tone for tomorrow night. There might be a few hot heads after this one, I think.
Oh, yeah. It'll be interesting having a chat to a few of these guys. Rattray White into the lane now. He's obviously gotten a penalty of sorts.
Yeah, Rattray White with a black flag, Hobson with a black flag. I'm presuming these are all from incident point. So Hobson's served his, Rattray White serving his currently.
Yep. Definitely plenty happening. Rattray White comes out just a couple of seconds ahead of Warboys, I think. It puts a carrot in front of Warboys to finish off. See if he can close that gap down. And Hobson, I think, has parked it up and left it. So plenty of action in these last couple of laps. Andrew Gilliam, 3-stop strategy has put him on the podium.
Yeah, definitely interesting turn up. I think probably had a little bit of luck as well with a few DQs, a few pit lane penalties from boys tapping on each other. But in any case, still a great drive from Andrew, and I guess that'll leave them scratching their heads on which way to go with strategy for tomorrow night.
He's not too far behind O'Reilly as well, just in front of him.
Yeah, he's under 3 seconds behind his teammate with doing an extra stop. So clearly there are some benefits for it. You do have to have an element of luck, I guess. And if you get that little bit of luck and you roll the dice, things can come your way.
And Warboys with 2 laps to go now is closed in, taking a second out of Rattray White.
So, and we've got Anthony Visma down in 7th. I don't think we've really mentioned Anthony much tonight, but that's a great drive from him.
Yeah, he's up 10 spots.
Up 10 spots. Joe Mahoney up 7 spots. Aidan Cale up 10 spots. Alan Dawson up 12 spots. So with all these boys getting black flags and leaving their cars in the lane, just goes to show you keep going, you mind your own business, do the right thing, and yeah, you pick up some nice points. So Cale's in the 10, Mahoney's in the 10, Visma's in the 10, Alan Dawson in the 10, and I'm sure they probably didn't feel like that was going to be the case after qualifying.
Definitely not. And Sharp as well is up 10 spots. In 11th, Steve Tonkin from JWM. He is up 12 spots. John Fillingham from Veteran Gaming Australia up 13 spots in 14th. And Martin Lofthouse up 9. So he's done really well as well. Kept circulating. So the JWM Young Guns doing really well this evening. As Rattray White now under a lot of pressure from War Boys. War Boys back in the car after a couple of seasons off, setting PBs here at the Wodonga karting track. He definitely has a bit of pace about him with his driving at the moment. So let's see what he can do here with Zach Rattray White. Will he get the job done as James Scott takes the white flag? Boy, he's probably happy to just take the 6th though too, starting from rear grid of course.
Yeah, definitely don't expect Blake to do anything silly here.
And Jacob O'Reilly still 2 seconds off Andrew Gilliam. Jacob will hold on to that second place. And what does War Boys do? How's it look? A little bit defensive by Rattray White. War Boys throws it right out wide. Looking for the over-under possibly. Get a better drive off the corner. Defensive again by Rattray White. Now, it is Cedo Ponds. War Boys needs to get the drive off there. It's coming around. Oh, I don't think he got a good enough drive.
No, I don't think he really had the grip to get the edge that he wanted.
Up the inside. And we'll bail this. We'll come around. It has been this man, James Scott. He has dominated again this evening. He should be pretty chuffed with his results for that one. He's going to be clearly 23 seconds ahead of Jacob O'Reilly. O'Reilly's going to manage to hold off his teammate, Andrew Gilliam, the podium. Another great drive from Jacob. He'd be pretty happy with that one. Gilliam bringing it home in P3. Adam Briggs up 7 spots into P4. Briggs, you'll be pretty happy with that hit out. Fairly quiet night for him.
Yeah, very quiet night, but once again, yeah, just out there minding his own business, did everything right, and ends up in P4.
And Rattray White, War Boys, there'll just be a hair's breadth between these two. That is 4th and 5th over the line. 4th and 5th, 5th and 6th. 7th, of course, looks like it's going to be Andrew Visma. I think the Viz will be pretty happy with his showing this one. Gets himself through Ferrari for the final time into Jorge Lorenzo corner and heads across the start-finish line. Joe Mahoney from BE Electrical, Race on Oz. Another great drive from him and his teammate Aidan Cale behind. They'd be pretty happy with that. Aidan would be pretty happy taking that 9th place, one of the big improvers we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And that will be everybody taking the checkered flag. So very busy night, Mark.
Yeah, ended up being a pretty small field that took the checkered flag. A fair bit of, not so much carnage, but I think off tracks were the order of the night. But once again, James Scott, absolutely outstanding drive, incredible race pace. We did see the Bermuda Motorsport boys have very good quality pace, but their race pace kind of fell away a bit and left James Scott once again to dominate. But yeah, good drive from Andrew Gilliam through that three-stop strategy in there and ended up on the podium. So, yeah, quite a few things to unpick from tonight.
Yeah, a lot to be unpicked. Control, we're probably a little bit busy there. I haven't heard too much from them though, so I'm not sure how busy. But James, you'd be pretty chuffed with that, I think. It's a good hit out for tomorrow night. Showed plenty of pace, and I think he'll be looking forward to taking it up to Madison Down, Brady Myers, of course, his own teammate Jared Filsell. I think an epic race at the Pro Series, and I think he'd be happy with that. Dylan probably would be a little bit disappointed, but would know the pace was there as well. And of course, the man that finished second was Jacob O'Reilly. Well done, Jacob. How'd you find that one?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Bit of a slog. Set needs a bit of work. I think the tire deck was massive. Not much I could have done there against Ruddy in that last stint, but it was good nonetheless. Really enjoyed it.
It looked like you. Sorry, John. I was just going to say, it looked like you boys had pretty good quali pace, but towards the middle and back end of the race stint, the pace seemed to really fall off the cliff a bit.
Yeah, pretty sure it's a skill issue on my part, to be honest. I think Rick handled his fairly well. Plus, I started the race, and when you got James Scott behind you, it's pretty scary.
Well, that was a great pole lap, so congratulations on that, mate, and well done on P2.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
And, of course, the man in third place, Andrew Gilliam. How'd you find that one, Andrew?
Yeah, I thought I'd give the three-stopper a go just to see how the deg matched up, but looks like you can manage the tyres a lot better than I expected.
Yep. That was interesting roll of the dice, though. It sort of made you sort of very combative towards the end there.
Yeah, it was exciting ranging up on that battle pack. It sort of parted way for me, though, pretty easily when I got there. But I thought you could roll the dice on a late race safety car and come through as well. I just thought I'd give something different a go, starting was it P8?
Yeah, I think it was P8. Well, I think it was about lap 37, I think it was. We did have somebody into the tyre barrier and then they towed, so disappointing.
Oh, really? So that would have been a safety car.
So
man.
Yeah, I think we think it would have been close to being safety car, yeah. So, interesting one. But that's the breaks in the big leagues. And speaking of the big leagues, James Scott, congratulations on another victory.
Thank you.
How did you find that one?
Yeah, really struggled in quali. Just didn't get it together at all. And the track, I don't know, seemed to go away in the last run. But yeah, the race car was not too bad. Bit of an experiment with the setup for tomorrow night in this race. So I have to go look at some data and see what was better with runs during the week and the one tonight.
How many laps do you reckon you do leading into the Pro Series?
Man, really depends on real life work commitments and things like that. I've got a lot going on outside of this, so Red Bull Ring I probably only did 100 laps before the race. So bugger all. Here I've got no idea, but not bucket loads. I don't know. It's quite a. It's not a bad track, this one. It's just very low grip. So yeah, depending on how you're feeling, might feel like doing a stint, might feel like doing no laps. So yeah.
And I love asking this question. How do you reckon you're going to go tomorrow night?
I don't know, to be honest. A track that I personally, until tonight, have never raced at. And for a lot of the field, they'll be in the same boat. So I know Scops did one round here late last year, and I couldn't make it. But yeah, I've got no idea what other people's pace is like. Yeah, I've just sort of been focusing on, you know, us 4 guys at Lobs, see what the best we can make it, and yeah, hopefully it's good enough tomorrow.
Worries. And anyone you want to give a shout out to, mate?
Yep, all the guys at Lobs Esports put in some solid work this week, so yeah, hopefully see what we can do tomorrow. Speed Cafe, Hybrid Racing Simulations, Raka Performance, and you guys for the broadcast, and you know the other VM guys on the podium. It was a good race.
Thanks, James. And might go to you, Jacob, in P2. Anyone you want to give a shout out to for the team, mate?
Yeah. Yeah, cheers to you guys as usual. Thanks to James as well for thoroughly thrashing us again. But the important ones, cheers to everyone down at VM for all their support. It's been awesome these last couple of months. Really enjoying it. Race Lab, Burb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Mozza Racing, Jaime Setups, and Vermilion Coaching. Go to Vermilion Coaching, check it out, boys.
Too easy. And then, of course, next week, boys, we are off to Winton for the final round. Thoughts on that?
Winton will be a really interesting one because you go straight from really high-speed corners to the tightest corners. Setup will be very different, very difficult to pass. So, yeah, I think that'll be really interesting, very qualifying dependent as well.
Yep, true too. And on that note, Mark, anything you want to add?
No, I thought it kind of the middle part of the race was a little bit quiet, but it certainly livened up right at the end there. And yeah, I think Andrew with his 3-stop strategy definitely kind of caught us and a few other people out. But yeah, I thought it ended up a good, nice race. And once again, James Scott showed his quality. But thought Jacob on pole was a great quali lap, and yeah, should be a great race tomorrow night for the Pro Series.
Easy.
Cheers, boys. Appreciate it.
No worries, guys. Good luck.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah. And on that note, we might wrap up the broadcast, and we'll see everybody again at 8:15 next Tuesday night for the final round of season 10 of the East Coast Series from Winton. Thanks for watching.
There's no arguing that people love their cars.
We weren't arguing.
They talk about their cars, sing about their cars. Some people even look like their car. Whether it's an old car, new old car, fast car, family car, electric car, race car, two-wheel car, no-wheel car, or a car you know's parked around here somewhere. People who love their cars love to tinker with them. Some people tinker big, some people tinker small. Some people tinker some degree between those two variables.
Whose voice is that?
And that's where Supercheap Auto comes in. We've been helping people tinker for 50 years. For people like Bill, Lucy, Kevin, other Kevin.
Oi, get off my car!
Didn't catch this guy's name.
It's Kevin.
Not Patrick. He doesn't shop with us. Whoever you are, whatever you drive, we'll help you make it super. Because super is our middle name. Well, technically it's our first.